Yeah. Hey, hello everyone, and yeah, and it's very nice, and it's been a pleasure meeting you all here. And yeah, today what we are going to discuss is about like how do we integrate like the Azure AI search with Copilot Studio, which means that how we are going to build a Copilot which is powered by a knowledge source from Azure AI search. Okay, so in general, everybody knows what Copilot does, how we are going to develop a good Copilot studio. But yeah, before that, let me introduce about myself. So myself, I have 12 plus years of experience, mainly into the Microsoft Dynamics 365 domain. Okay, I deal with both functional and technical aspects. And I've been working at a bunch of different industrial sectors here in Singapore. And saying that when Microsoft Dynamics came into picture, again, Power Platform is unavoidable. So I've been working in Power Platform things for the last 5 years at most. And then recently, I have some experience working in Copilot and Copilot Studio mainly. So we were doing all kind of pre-sales and POCs in companies, and that's where I got introduced to Copilot and Copilot Studio, and I thought I'll explore more on that area. So currently, I'm serving as a technical consultant in Avanade, Singapore. So that's it about me. So let's see what we are going to cover in today's channel. So we'll have a short introduction on Copilot Studio, which I hope everyone knows now, and why we are going to use Azure AI Search. Okay. Then we'll just go for a simple demo scenario. Okay, for which scenario this kind of Copilot can help the customers here. And like we'll go other steps by steps. I can directly skip on to the screen now. Yeah. So what is Microsoft Copilot Studio? And yeah, so as you know, this is a tool which is used to extend the existing Microsoft 365 Copilot, or you can also build your own Copilot, or you can also still extend any other Copilot that is developed and available in the existing Microsoft product. So saying that we have different Copilots, right? So one is about Microsoft 365 Copilot that is available. And then there are Copilot in all the Biz apps, okay, and even the Power Platform, which the previous session everyone was talking about. And even for the other Microsoft Copilot products that are available, right? So for all these Copilot, the only tool that is help to customize and extend is the Microsoft Copilot Studio, as you see here. So it is powered by, so it's a kind of a framework, right? So it's powered by AI. You can actually use Azure AI, Azure Cognitive Services, and a lot of Power Platform Connector and other AI builders that can be used to find a knowledge source for this Copilot Studio. So let's like some sample use cases. So what we are going to do before that, right? I can show you what is the demo scenario that we are going to cover this. So consider any kind of global consulting firm. Okay, so that is offering any kind of like technology and financial consulting services. Okay, so they have a lot of reports. Okay, thousands of reports, case studies, all the client proposals. Okay, so they also have a lot of internal documentation, best practices, all HR policies. Okay, these documents have like they're not even in one particular geographies, even in other part of their companies where it is available. So what the challenge they were facing is all these consultant and employees who were like trying to who are wanted to find any information right from these documents, right? It's very hard for them to find out where the information lies on, right? So since this knowledge is scattered across different sources, right? So it's very hard for them to find out and pick up the proper information. Okay, so generally, currently, what they are thinking is they were actually doing it manually. They were trying to search everything manually. So that is where the Copilot came into picture, and this is one of a real business case scenario which even we from our organization we implemented for one of our client in Singapore. So with their existing environment. Okay, so before going to the demo, why we are going to use Azure AI search for this? Okay, so everybody know Copilot itself has a place where you can actually upload the document and use it as knowledge source. Okay, but instead, why we are not using that particular feature, but instead why you are going for Azure AI search? Okay, because Azure AI search is more advanced and it is AI powered. Okay, so what happens is it can crawl over all the structured and unstructured data, and it also provide the main advantage is that it is actually it can handle a large amount of data. So the existing functionality that you can do through the Copilot Studio has some limitations. So it has limitations on the number of files that you upload, and at the same time it has some limitations on the size of the file that we are going to upload also. But still, Azure AI search, yeah, is well known for handling large data, and it is fast and scalable, right? So as we know, right, the documents and the sizes and the number of documents keep on increasing every time. So when we are going to it's going to keep on add on, and every time Copilot has to read through, index all those documents also by itself. So the reason, and another reason is about the security and compliance. So yeah, we have, we can also have all this role-based access and data privacy from the AI search. So based on the scenario that we discussed, right? So what solution we are going to propose? So for this particular problem, right? So we will streamline this knowledge retrieval, right? So what we can do is we will implement Azure AI search, okay, along with the Copilot Studio, and where we will give the chatbot to all the employees. Like either we can give through any channels, right? It can be even the Teams channel which they are currently using. So users can directly go into the Teams chat with the chatbot, get the information whatever they want. So what are the steps that we are going to follow is we will centralize all the data, all the documents that are present into one Azure blob storage. Okay, then we will actually do indexing using Azure AI search. Okay, and we will create a OpenAI embeddings. Okay, in the Azure OpenAI service. Then we will integrate it with the Copilot Studio. So just four steps that we need to follow to create a new chatbot. So let me quickly go through the demos straight away so that we will create the whole Copilot in few minutes. So before going to Copilot Studio, like first we will go see the setup that we are going to do in the Azure first. So I'm just logging into my Azure environment. Okay. So initially, yeah, I already have a blob storage here to save time, right? I've already created this blob. I have uploaded few documents here. Okay. So for demo purposes, I have just upload some Microsoft documentations here. Like all are some random documentation, even not related to each other. So if you can see some licensing guide, some user guide, some white paper from Microsoft. So all these documentations I have uploaded here. Okay. So what we are going to do is we will perform a vector indexing through this document that is present, then we'll be using this in the Copilot Studio. So step one, yeah, I have organized all the documents into the Azure storage, blob storage. Okay. So step two, before we go to the Azure search service, right? We just need to have a model. We just need to deploy a model in the system. Okay. So how we are going to deploy the model? Okay. So for this, we are going to use Azure OpenAI service. Okay. So Azure OpenAI service, I hope you might have heard about this. Okay. So Azure OpenAI service generally it allows the users like to build any kind of AI solution. Okay, using OpenAI's language model. Okay, so it's a collaboration between Microsoft Azure and the OpenAI. So it generally, right, it gives us APIs for this all the language model like GPT 4.0, GPT 3.5. So all this embedding series, right? So since it is a collaboration between Azure and then the OpenAI, right? We will be having the credibility, we will be having the possibility to use all the GPT models in our own chatbot. So, okay, why do we go with this? And as you know, right, like in Azure OpenAI environment, right, what all you will be able to do is you will be able to create custom copilots, okay, and you will be able to analyze all the data, like whatever we are going to do, it will generate insights for you, and then it will also helps us to create our own Copilot, like as we do in the Copilot Studio, right? We will also be able to create a totally customized Copilot in Azure AI Studio also. So that is why we are going to use Azure OpenAI, and then in Azure OpenAI, yeah, just what we are going to do is step one, we are going to just deploy a model. Okay, so to deploy a model, I have just created an Azure OpenAI service. Okay, so this will navigate for this Azure AI Foundry portal. Okay, this is where you will be able to deploy the models or create your own custom chatbot in any case. So as you know, right, creating chatbot, yeah. So a user who is a pro developer or someone can make use of all this chat playground, Azure OpenAI service Foundry to build their own chatbot. Okay, Copilot Studio is for everyone who is not a pro developer still. Okay, so in this particular case, right, in the Azure AI Foundry, I'm just going to create a deployment here. Okay, so in our case, we just required a deployment here. Other than that, remaining other things we are going to do in the Azure AI service only. So deploying a model is also simple and straightforward. So we will be deploying a model here. We'll just click on press deploy, just click on deploy a base model. So since we are going to use Azure AI Search mainly to read the files, right, we will need to go for this embedding type model. Okay. So it can be either large or small, whatever it is. You can select any model here, and then you can just click on confirm. Okay. So that's it. So what is the benefit of this particular model? So yeah, I mean these are all the different models that is provided by OpenAI, right? So it's like it's just a different version of the models. So everything is like how the OpenAI Chat GPT works, right? When you upload the documents and gives you the site. Right? Similarly, I mean it's the same thing, but we are going to use it only in our documents, right? So that's it. So since we are going to use Azure AI Search with respect to the files that we upload, right? Since we are going to crawl through the files, we just need an embedding model, okay? But any kind of Copilot, that custom Copilot that you are going to create, right, using the chat playground, you can still use 4.0, the latest model, or like 3.5, whatever the different version of model that is available, that is OpenAI is providing. So it's all different version of model. Yeah. So for our case, yeah, just need to create a deployment, and from there it's fine. We can come back to our Azure portal. Okay. So Vijay, we can have multiple models or just one model is enough? Yeah, no, we can have multiple models, but for doing the search, one model, you have to just choose one model here. One model here. Yeah. So yeah, then coming to the main part, how we will configure the Azure AI search is like, okay, I'll come back to the Azure portal. I'll open the Azure AI service. Okay, from here, I'll go and create a new Azure AI search. Okay. So I already have my own subscription here. I'll just give a name. Okay. So maybe I'll go for Asia. And so since I'm using all this, my own Azure account, I'll be simply using my tail. Okay. So I'll just review and create. Yeah. So this is just creating a search service. Okay, so once we create the service, right? Okay, so let me go back. I already have my own services which I can show you. Yeah. Azure credit is not free. Yeah. It already. No, we already have a lot of things. Yeah. Okay. By the time Sanjeev, you raised your hand, I saw any questions, anything you want to ask? Because initially I was thinking, who is the Moody administrator? Yeah. Okay. No question. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yep. Okay. So once we create the search service, right? So the next step is we have to import and vectorize the data. Okay. So import and vectorize is nothing but we are going to supply our files to this particular search service so that it can scroll through and then it can vectorize, index the information that is present in those files, and then it can answer. I mean, like that is how Azure AI search works. So I'll just click on import and vectorize data. In our case, we are going to do it through Azure Blob Storage. Okay. So I'm clicking on Azure Blob Storage, and then I will be selecting my storage account that is present here. Okay. So this is the container where I have stored my files here. So all these files, right? I'm just selecting it here. Okay. And I'm just going to the vector. So in the next step, yeah, we will be choosing like which model we are going to use. Okay. That we created in the previous step, right? Which OpenAI model that we are going to use in our service. So you can see here, by default, right, whatever the models that we have there in our OpenAI things will appear here. So I'll be selecting the model which I need here. Okay, so here, as I told you, right, yeah, we will be seeing only the embedding model here. So that's the reason we wanted to create a model that is of type embedding. Okay, so I'll just choose this particular model and then I'll just proceed. Okay, so consider if your document is having a lot of images and you still need to vectorize all the images, right? I'll go for this. And this is again to enrich the document by using the AI skills. But for now, I'm not selecting this because it will take more time to configure. So though my document still has images, so I don't want to select for now. But you can try it out. It works fine. And the next one is schedule the indexing. So what is the purpose of this indexing is nothing but so now we have 5 different files that we give a supply as a knowledge, right? So what happens in real scenario? Yeah, the documents can keep on updating and we can add new documents into the blob storage and there may be changes to the existing documents, everything can happen. So when that happens, right, this search index should also search for the new data and new documents, right? So this is how you will configure how this indexing should be scheduled. Like if your document is going to change very frequently, like based on that you can put it, but I don't think like 5 minutes, 10 minutes and all is going to make sense unless you really have an like a real time changes that is happening. But for now, like I'll just give once the indexing is done, like, for now that's fine because my knowledge is not going to change much. Okay, so and then I'll just create this search. Okay, so by now system will automatically the search index, right? It will be created and then the search service will make itself capable to get the information. So I give one, yeah. So it's already created. So it gives you some vector number, but anyhow, let it be there. We'll think, I mean, I'll tell about this later. So from the Azure environment, yeah, these are all the things that we need to do. Okay, just to recap, let's say the first step, we'll just organize all the data into the blob storage. Then we will go to the Azure OpenAI service. We will just create and deploy a model. Then we will just create a search service, select the model that we deploy, supply the blob storage that we had the files, and then create the service. Okay. Finally, we import and vectorize all those files. Okay. So once we are done with this, now we are good to go to the Copilot Studio, and then we just quickly create our own chatbot. Okay. Let me go to my Copilot Studio now. Okay. So I just created this Copilot Studio fresh just before 5 minutes. Okay, so we will see how do we supply this knowledge to this Copilot Studio. So whenever I create a new Copilot, right? So what generally we'll do is initially I'll just enable the Gen AI here. So in general, it will be a classic one, but I'll just move to the generative preview. Okay, to because it itself, right, it can answer with the best combination by itself. So if it is a classic one, it is pretty much the previous power virtual agent that we create, right? So we have to specify, we have to design the topic ourselves, each and every topic, but we go for generative. Yeah, system can, I mean, Copilot can identify by itself. Okay, so I'll go for this generative one for now. And then, yeah, since it is a new one, right, there is no knowledge. And what I'll do is I'll disable the general knowledge of the Copilot. I don't want it to bring any details from its own knowledge or through internet anywhere. So I just wanted Copilot to only answer based on the files that I'm providing, okay, based on the knowledge that I'm supplying. Okay, so I'll just disable this also to make sure that it's answering only based on our own files, right? So okay, let's see. Once done, right? We'll see how to add search service here. So we'll go for add knowledge. Okay. So as you know, in general, yeah. So these are all the default knowledge sources that is available, and we are talking about the default document upload, right? So that will be generally done here. Okay. So previously, what we used to do is, yeah, we used to upload all the documents here, but now this is not a case. We will just go to the advanced knowledge, and then we can see the Azure AI Search connector. By default, it is present here. Okay, so I'll click on Azure AI Search. Okay, so it will give me, since it's in a different environment, right? So what we have to do is we have to connect to that particular search service. Okay, so I'll click on this. It won't appear when you do it for the first time. Since I am already logged in, it's coming here. So what you have to do is you have to go for a new connection, and then it will just ask you for the access key and then the URL. Okay, what we are going, I mean, the URL of and then the admin key here. So from where to take it? Okay, let me go back to the Azure. So we have this search service, right? Yeah. So in our search service, this will be the URL that is required. Okay, I'll just copy this URL. Okay, save it somewhere. And to get the key, you have to go to the settings, and then you will have the key here. Okay, so you have to just take this primary admin key. Okay, so this URL and key is unique for every search service. Okay, so in the event, right, we can have multiple search services. Okay, that can crawl through different files, right? We can use it as different knowledge source in the Copilot also. So let's go back to the Copilot now again, and then let's put up the details over there. So the authentication type, okay, the authentication type will be access key. So the endpoint URL is the one that we copied from there. And the access key, yes, I'm just specifying. Okay. And I just click on create. Okay. So it's as simple as that. We just connect to this Azure AI search and to that particular search service, and then we just click on next. Okay. And it will just display the vector that we saw on the previous screen, right? So it will just select, okay, this is the vector index that it search, right? So you just don't have to do anything. This is my previous one. I'll just choose the latest one, and then I'll just click on it. Okay. That's it.
And the ID also it is coming from the
Yeah.
Azure, right?
Yeah. So the previous step we had the connection, right? So once we do the connection, this ID will be brought back from that Azure service. So ideally, all from different tenant. The Azure A, which I did was my personal Azure account, and this is a different tenant altogether. But still, yeah, we just need the URL and then the access key to access it. So it doesn't have to be in the same tenant or those things. So once we have the connection, yeah, we will be able to do it. So that's it. We have supplied the Azure AI search knowledge here, and I think you don't have to do anything else. just publish and we can straight away go for testing it whether it is working fine or not. Okay. So like for example, right, let me also, I have some prompts which I created. Okay. So any questions? Any questions from anyone in the chat? Yeah.
So no, you are already finished, is it?
No.
Okay,
just
it's
test it out.
published. Yeah. Okay. Any questions anyone has in the chat? I see a lot of new people are there in the chat.
The Azure AI service, it supports the blob storage, right? Does it also support the SharePoint?
Yeah, you can see that it supports a lot of other sources also. Yeah.
It should support the SharePoint as well.
So as per my understanding, what Palash we used to do, right, whenever we want to big scale of data, and in that case, we don't rely on this Power Platform tech stack. We move to Azure on this.
Yeah, Azure data modeling. Yeah,
Exactly.
data modeling.
That's why, from my point of view, yes, we use that. I believe his use case also it's a bit practical. If you have a real live customer has scenario, you cannot satisfy within your Power Platform ecosystem. You may have to extend Azure capabilities. That's what I believe is.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the reason why I bought this scenario is actually a real business scenario which we encountered also. Yeah. So I'm just asking a question related to one of the file that I'm giving there. So I had 5 different files. Okay, one file related to the on-premise to online migration. Okay, and it will search for. So now currently we have enabled only the Azure knowledge search, and then like we have also disabled the. Maybe it takes some time. Let me.
Product wise, it may be different now. Everything coming together: Microsoft 365 plus Azure plus Dynamics plus Power Platform plus anything you think converging towards. Even Fabric. Right. Everything converging towards same goal. It's like a shading across. You give me this capability, I'll use it. He's saying, okay, give me another capability. It's like a Marvel movies, all the characters. Yeah, because data, Power BI, everyone need. So yeah, it's all about working together.
Unfortunately, the previous one maybe because of some Azure credits. So I'm just opening my other one which I connected with the same search service. Let's see. So and also for the accuracy of the answer, right? I still feel that the Azure AI search gives you more accurate answers than, I mean, like in only in the point of document processing, like whatever we spoke of. Because if you see the different, so here if you see, it will show us that it has brought the answers from the Azure AI searcher. So
sorry, I'm just asking out of curiosity. That is, let's say if I want to connect here Dynamics, right? You told you are since long working on Dynamics. So let's say you consider Dynamics in this scenario. Dynamics are data-verse search. So if data-verse search versus this, which one you prefer and why?
See, let's say data-verse search in the sense what mean like what kind of information that we store there? Is it like
correct? Agree. Yeah. I understand where you are coming from, but again, I'm trying to understand the underlying logic. Let's say if Microsoft's thought process, data versus I want to search my data, whatever the record within that.
Yeah.
Here it is all about data and unstructured kind of unstructured kind of thing we can search here. So what is the use case you feel this will be fit also in Dynamics, which Dynamics don't have that capability?
Yeah. So actually, that is the point which I wanted to highlight also. See, whatever we store in the dataverse, right? It's pretty much everything is like a structured data. Let it be like, for example, a kind of you want to know the status of your order or sales order that is being done, or else, right, any kind of other details, whatever is present in the database, everything is actually structured, right? But when it comes to images, or when it comes to any other unstructured data, right, and most probably, right, you can see a lot of customers, right, they have a lot of documentation which is there previously, which is even not like, we cannot bring those history data into the system, like
handwritten kind.
Yeah, handwritten things, and at the same time,
100 DPI,
yes,
that kind of, you cannot go below that. Yeah, that one is.
And at the same time, right, even their history data, right, like they maintain in like old Excels and their existing, like even in the SQLs, right, even in their old SQLs, in that particular scenario, you cannot bring everything to Dataverse, like considering even the storage considerations. So, but Azure AI Search, you can connect to the SQL itself directly. So you can actually either connect directly to their SQL, or else, right, put up that in the Azure SQL, not using the Dataverse storage. Okay, because Dataverse storage, we believe it's very costly than what we use in general.
Yeah, that's why actually customers don't like to go for Dataverse storage cost.
So in that scenario, yeah, we will, I mean, and again, everybody is talking about all the unstructured data. Even the previous session, what we saw for the document processing, again, it's unstructured. Morning, what we talked is, again, everything is different. So that's why we are going to AI, but even though it has its own, okay, I think from the demo point of view, yeah, we can see that we get the response. I'll just go back to my slides. So I have a slide about it. Yeah. And again, let me recap again what we did. Okay, so we have the files in the blob storage. Okay, so we just created an Azure OpenAI resource, and then we went to deploy the model. Okay, we just deployed the model. Then we created an Azure AI search service here. So once we create, we just import and vectorize data. So we copied the keys and the URL from the Azure search key, and then we directly supplied it as a knowledge source to this particular Copilot. Okay, so once done, right, obviously we'll be able to see the data that is, I mean, the response that is coming. Okay, so if you compare what, I mean, like even the Copilot itself has an option to directly upload the file, right? If you see what happens is, like for simple files, and as I told you, for whichever is restricted, yeah, it still works. But one main thing that I would say is the last point mentioned over there, right? So consider you already designed a Copilot agent, and then you already given to the users. Okay, so if the data, I mean, like if you have to supply more files, or you want to update the data, right? If you would have done for the approach of directly uploading the file in Copilot Studio, then it would require admin or a person to do that change. Okay, it only admin can do it. But if it is a kind of blob storage, okay, anyone who have access to the blob, they can just go there, update the document, and the indexing. I mean, like, we can just refresh the index so that the uploaded documents is getting indexed. So Copilot can provide responses based on that uploaded documents. And like considering all other advantages what I mentioned here, right? Like capability, and when you want to scale it to a large data set, and again, even the performance and speed as it's mentioned here, accuracy, everything, Azure AI search at this particular point seems to be more valuable than we do directly in the Copilot Studio. And that's the reason we have this kind of use cases and use scenarios of that real time we even implemented for our customers. So that is how it works for now. Yeah. So there any other questions that
exactly on time then? 2:30. We started late. We match up balanced. That's good. Came on track. Any questions, anyways, who are online?
What is the license cost for Azure AI Search now? So this is
free.
No, that one is based on the tires that we select, right? Yeah, there are multiple tires that you want.
Any other costs that we have for now?
No, it's only the Azure one. Yeah. So for this demo, yeah, I took the basic one, like around $75 something it cost for me per month, but because free version is not working. Free version doesn't work.
Did you try with the SharePoint?
No, I haven't. I haven't tried. Yeah.
Okay, the default SharePoint knowledge base, it has a lot of flaws.
Mhm.
If you don't go with the Azure OpenAI search, Azure OpenAI search is more precise, but if you go with the default, just connect the SharePoint site as a knowledge base under the Copilot, there's a lot of flaws.
Okay, but I'm not sure if, I mean, I haven't tried that because whatever we tried, right, blob we have used, and then SQL Fabric we have used, but SharePoint, actually I haven't tried it, so I understand, because again, SharePoint, as you say, it has, I also expect a lot of challenges when you would do. No, again, in Fabric, right, there was a scenario where they bring the data into Power BI, okay, they create one lake, I mean, like one lake over there. So since the data is already there, I think we can use that particular data with Azure AI search to take it, yeah.
Okay, I think next question, Palas, will discuss offline.